Let us prepare ourselves for a meditation. And today's meditation to that conflict situation. And think, what if? I wonder. And again, relax, take a breather, and feel calm in this moment of uncertainty. Breathe. Let us release our doing mind, our problem-solving mind, our judgment mind that may come up at this moment, and embrace that in this moment you may not know some things that will happen or how a situation will be resolved. Let us just breathe and bring a sense of wonder. I wonder why. I wonder how. I wonder if. Relax, rest peacefully in the world of not knowing, in the world of beginner's mind. Do we get a sense of mystery? Do we feel an openness, a state of freedom, room for creativity? Let us observe ourselves in this way, now and occasionally. And let us breathe calmly. Amen, and blessed be. My comments today are titled, I Know Nothing. You can see it on one side of the marquee outside. It's in quotes, I know nothing. I used to watch that popular TV sitcom, Hogan's Heroes, in the late 60s. And its reruns long after the show was cancelled. My favorite character in the show, hands down, was Sergeant Schultz, played by the beloved John Banner, really Johann Banner, who was always turning a blind eye to the shenanigans of the prisoners of war in Stalag 13, saying adamantly, I see nothing, I know nothing. His character did not want to be bothered with anything that was going on, and he let things slide. His motivation for not knowing was not to expand his creativity or to find a new perspective. Rather, he was hiding and pretending that everything was functioning the way it was supposed to, which of course it didn't. And he just focused on his daily routine, and he was content. When we did our not knowing or our beginner's mind meditation today, I suggested that we think of something straightforward, something that we know, perhaps beginning with our name. How could we not know that? Well, let us now think again for a moment about our name. I'm thinking of the first name and the last name that I'm using in my relationship with this congregation. The name that appears on the staff roster posted outside in the vestibule. But that name was not always my name. And I'm not even thinking about things like titles, which You know, they change here and there. You might accumulate them, or you might say, I'm not using this one anymore. That's also kind of fluid. But as far as the name itself, given name, family name, as is the case for many women, and nowadays men too, I changed my last name to that of my spouse, my partner, when I got married to my children's father. I thought nothing of it, I just did it. In fact, I think people told me, yeah, that's the way we do it here in this country. And I said, okay, and I just did it. Not a big deal. But I gradually became an academic professional. And I did a lot of specialized research over the years. All of it published under my married name. I sort of thought that I was an expert in some things. And then I decided to get a divorce. And as these things go, I felt I wanted to change my name back to what it used to be. I felt so strongly about it that I did not care at that point that all my professional contributions had my married name on them. I was rather compulsive about the decision. I simply took a piece of paper and I placed my name on it that I now was using, stuck it on my office door, and eventually made it legal in court. My children never were that enthusiastic about doing that for themselves, so they have different names, and that's okay. But as far as my professional work was concerned, and my publication record, I realized, this is a good time for me to start afresh. There were lots of projects I wanted to engage in, like public health, human rights, poverty, gender issues. I threw myself into that work and I started to build up a new publication record. And looking back on it now, that creative shift, or I think it was creative, go with me here, but that maybe creative shift in the work I was immersing myself into is part of what eventually brought me to ministry. I was no longer writing papers about tariffs or exchange rates or stuff like that. I was writing papers about human issues, about the environment. So this little adamant decision that I had made, going under a different name, ended up being a sea change in my life. It's totally amazing when I think back on it. So today, when I was doing my part of our not knowing meditation, I wasn't so sure that I should claim solid knowledge of my name. It may be just a temporary thing. Letting go of something like that, something that anchors us to an outside reality, may open a world of new things. Like it did for me. A world where we often say, I wonder what? I wonder if? I wonder why and how? A lot has been written about the mindset that we call beginner's mind or not knowing mind. Some of it is in the literature of Zen Buddhism. In fact, a translation of the word Soshin in Japanese is beginner's mind. And some of it is also in the psychology literature. So there are these two avenues of literature that are really talking about the same thing. But let me begin with an ancient story in a place far away. It's a Zen Buddhist story of maybe the 10th century, so it's really ancient. It involves a Zen master named Toku-san, who lived around the 10th century. He was very knowledgeable, and yet he wanted to expand his knowledge even further. So he visited various teachers around the country and he learned from them. And one day he visited Master Ryutan and told him that he wanted to share his ideas, and he also wanted to pick up yet a few additional ones himself. Sure, says Master Ryutan, let's have some tea. And Ryutan sets up the tea ceremony with the service and the cups, and he starts pouring tea into the cup in front of Toku-san. And he keeps pouring and pouring. And pretty soon, the tea spills over the table, and then it spills over Toku-san's lap. What on earth are you doing? Says Toku-san at one point. He was probably yelling at that point. Well, came the answer. That full cup is like your mind. Nothing more will fit in it. It will just spill over. And Toku-san learned something from that, because one of the written things that is attributed to him is that your knowledge, something you think you know, is just like a drop of water that's dropped into a river. It's nothing. Much more recently, the best-selling book on beginner's mind is that written by Shunryu Suzuki. It's called Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. Actually, he wrote it in English because he wrote it when he was in San Francisco, where he lived. It's the classic book of spiritual practice. And originally it was published in 1972. There are at least 25 editions of it. You can find it anywhere if you Google Beginner's Mind. And I mentioned in Japanese, Beginner's Mind is called So-shin. Shin is the word for mind. There's also a word Mu-shin, which means empty mind, and a couple of other designations of mind that we don't need to go into today. Using our beginner's mind means that we let go of that doing or problem-solving mind. We let go of our constant judgment. I'm sure we're all judging at this moment in some way or another. But when we don't judge constantly, we may be able to feel an openness, a freedom, and we may enter a realm of creativity. In the psychology literature, there are also a number of books on the subject of beginner's mind, and I'll just mention two of them. There is the one by Carol Dweck, a Stanford University psychologist. She wrote a book called Mindset, the New Psychology of Success. So she linked beginner's mind to success. It was first published in 2006, and it's been recently updated. And she argues that success in any area of human endeavor, whatever it is, it's more likely to happen for people who have what she calls a growth mindset, a beginner's mind. Growth does not happen when we accumulate more knowledge, she says, but when we learn how to think. And a more recent book on that very subject is that by Tom Vanderbilt. His book was published in 2021 and it's called Beginners, the Joy and Transformative Power of Thinking and Lifelong Learning. He focuses on the transformative power of starting something new. And there we start with a beginner's mind. To test this out, he spent a whole year just learning new things to him. Things like playing a game of chess and being beat by his 8-year-old child. Things like surfing and being bitten by scorpions, that kind of stuff. He wasn't good at any of these things, but what he got out of it was a change in the process of his mind. The pleasure of learning something that he knew nothing about before. It was an awakening, the awakening of possibility. So how can we develop a beginner's mind without taking off a year to do something that we never did before? Here are just a few, and in the literature you can find long lists, and I just picked out a few that might click for us today. So I accidentally stumbled upon beginner's mind long before I ever knew what Zen Buddhism was about, by changing my name and opening a world of new possibilities for me. Another one that many of us practice, and I know I have practiced it, is to slow down. Walking to work instead of driving. When you do that, okay, you take a lot more time, but you notice little things like the little bugs, the smells, the breeze that is happening, the birds that might be singing, the berries that hang on the trees that hang over the sidewalk, things like that. You might sample one of them. There are mulberries on my way home from here. I would have never noticed them driving. But I'm looking forward to them this year. Another way is to try to set our ego aside of wanting to be an expert and just say, I don't know. Ask a young child to explain how something works. The way they explain, their creative way of explaining might spark our own not knowing mind. And another common thing is to just deconstruct our daily tasks into their little components, like doing dishes by hand. Feel the soft touch of the soap, enjoy those bubbles. Feel and enjoy the warm water. Hear that squeak of the dish that you have just finished drying. And let us not forget another way to do it. Meditate. There are many ways in which we can engage our beginner's mind. That meditation we did today can be useful, but other methods can be used as well. There are dozens, maybe hundreds of them. We may find our own spark to get to our beginner's mind and settle into the creative realm of I wonder. May we make it so. Let us rise in body or spirit to sing our second hymn for today. It is also in the teal hymnal.